All right, so I'm going to have Clark go ahead and start us off. So go ahead and just give us some background.
Okay. Do you want me to launch into the whole thing and share my screen and stuff?
Please do, yes. Oh, and
Okay,
one thing I forgot, if everybody, it looks like everybody for the most part has already done this, but if you can just mute yourself while he's presenting, feel free to drop questions in the chat, or this is pretty informal, so feel free if you just have a question, you can do the little hand thing and we can stop and chat at that point too.
Okay, so you'll probably have to make me a co-host for me to be able to share. I'm not very good at this Zoom thing entirely.
No, and you know what? I always
I
forget. Hey, I think it should be set. Try that.
Perfect. Okay. So hello everyone. My name is Clark Ripplinger. I'm not going to reveal where I am right now, but we'll get to that at the end. So, but kind of my story of how I got into school counseling. I started off as a biology composite teaching major at BYU. And so I went into teaching. I did 7th grade science, 9th grade biology. I taught at a couple of schools. Before I graduated, I did my student teaching at Joel P. Jensen in Jordan School District in West Jordan. And then I actually taught at Churchill Junior High as a permanent substitute, finishing off my student teaching at Churchill Junior High Granite School District. It's up on the east side of the Salt Lake Valley. Loved it. I fell in love with teaching, fell in love with kids, middle school, 7th grade, it's the best. People don't agree with me sometimes, but still. I then made my way to Fort Harriman Middle School, where I ended up teaching with my sister, actually. She taught 8th grade math and I taught 7th grade science. This is her in the graduation picture. And so then I just found a place that suited me better as far as schools wise. And just loved it. I had a blast. You can see from some of my pictures that I kind of get into Halloween and nerd day at school, and there's a lot of paperwork. So while I was teaching at Fort Harriman, this is kind of when school counseling started to show up. I had a great advisor in my program for my bachelor's that had the philosophy of you're helping these kids to become good people and improve their lives. And if you get in your curriculum, that's a bonus. That was my mentality. And then when I got into teaching, I found out that that wasn't everyone's mentality. And there was this huge emphasis on test scores and they need to do better in science from the previous year. And I was actually found some kind of conflicts with that personally, because I had some students who were dealing with some hard times that I found out about. I actually had one student one year whose dad committed suicide while she was at home, who died by suicide, I should say, the summer before. And so when they were like pushing to get her better science scores, I was resistant. I'm like, no, I don't care if she learns science right now. She's dealing with a lot and she can skip my class anytime she needs to go to be in the bereavement group at the school counseling office. So I was like, well, if I'm prioritizing that, So I kind of got into this phase where, if that's what my emphasis is going to be, that's what it's going to be. So I found this program, the Utah State University program, where I could just meet and still do my job. So I was still teaching and going to classes at night. Loved that aspect of it. And just fell in love with the counseling side of things. I really did. And my screen is not doing what I want. There we go. So I went to Utah State, graduated. And so I was actually a school counselor at the school I taught at for a bit at Fort Harriman Middle School. And then also in Indian Hills Middle School, which is in Canyon School District. So I've hit 3 of the school districts in the Salt Lake area. And I love them all. And I was there, loved it. I fell in love with the counseling aspect of things. These kids, it's so great to work with them, and they are so creative and so fun, and it's fun to just share in their energy. But I kind of found a few frustrations with school counseling a little bit. I felt like that there were so many things being asked of school counselors that weren't necessarily in the job description, and I wanted to focus more on the counseling side of things. So I actually went to BYU to get my PhD in counseling psychology, where I did some research, had a lot of fun with some people you can see, and I've worked in a lot of different places as far as that kind of a thing. You can see that on the right. But then I ended up back at Utah State University, and I am a psychologist for the counseling center of the university, which is how I met Marissa. I love it. I love the counseling aspect of things and being able to focus on that. So the school counseling program kind of launched me into this and connected me with what I feel like really resonates with me and my taste for careers. So when it comes to what Marissa asked me to talk about, she asked if I would present a challenge and a reward of the school counseling program. And the challenge is that there's so much that is being asked of school counselors that I feel like it's a very, very needed profession. But they have so many hats they have to wear, and it doesn't give them enough time to really focus on where I feel like a lot of the powerful aspects of the counseling piece can come through. They have to deal with a guidance curriculum that they teach the whole school. They have to deal with like proving that their jobs are even worth it and showing that what they're doing is of value. They have to deal with school class changes. They have to deal with schedules. There's just a lot that kind of, I felt, sometimes gets in the way of the true counseling aspect. But one of the benefits that I saw to the program is that there's so much creativity in the school systems and with that age group and with those kids and in that place of learning, that it's just so much great energy, And I kind of really miss that. Having left that field a little bit to pursue what I thought I wanted, I kind of find myself wishing to be back there. So that creativity, that fun, it's great. So school counseling, I love it. I advocate for it every day. And that's my spiel.
Great. Thanks so much, Clark. Any questions for Clark at this point? Okay, great. All right, we will turn the time over to Lizette if you're ready.
And I will mute myself.
Let me know if you have any questions with the Zoom stuff.
Okay, so sorry. I totally lost you guys for a second. And I'm like, this thing is not popping up. And I just want to explain to the new people that today we had dress up day and I'm Princess Leia. And actually what our team did was so awesome. So everyone dressed up in Star Wars outfits. And then I made these little Corona balls. These are our enemies. So we have them throughout the counseling office and we were all like doing our lightsabers and trying to destroy them. So it was very fun. But okay, so let's see here. I will share thank you for sharing my screen. Let's see here, we'll do one, this. Okay. Okay, so let me make sure. Okay, my name is Lisette Blanchard and I work at Provo High and I am a school counselor. I absolutely love my job, just like Clark. So my personal background, I was actually born in Mexico and Spanish was my first language. I came to the United States to live in a tiny little town called Fallbrook in California. And growing up, there were probably about 10,000 people in the whole town. So it was really small. My high school, I think, had 1,200 people. And I loved growing up there. It was like the best little place to grow up in. And it's the avocado capital of the world, supposedly. So it's very green. So when my husband and I moved to Utah, I'd never been to Utah, and he actually took me to Cedar City, and he had told me about such a cute town. It's gorgeous, blah, 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 blah. So we go there in December where it had snowed and they had plowed the streets and the snow wasn't even pretty. It wasn't even white. It was like muddy and disgusting. And my first thought, and all the trees are dead. And I'm like, I would never live in Utah. This is the ugliest state ever. And then here I am 20 years later. So, which I thought was really funny. I love to travel. Traveling is my passion. And in my next slide, you'll see that I went to a lot of schools for different periods of time. I'm probably like a school counselor's worst nightmare because it took me like 10 years to graduate with my bachelor's degree because I kept taking I'd go to school for a semester and then I'd be like, oh, I could be doing something better. And so then I travel for like 3 weeks, and then I'd come back and I'd be like, oh my gosh, if I get like 5 jobs, I could travel even more for longer. And so I did that for a while. And then I have 3 children and an amazing husband who's been super supportive through everything and having me go back and get my master's. And so we'll go to my education background. So I started at a community college, and then I transferred to Pepperdine. I was there for about a year, and it was really, really, really hard because I didn't have any financial support from my parents. I got a lot of financial aid when I was there, but it was hard even to like try to keep up with the schoolwork and try to find a job where I could pay for all my bills. And so after a year, I had to leave, and I actually went to Korea to teach English. And so while I was there, I met my husband, and he's not Korean, but he was there teaching English as well. And we decided to get married, and we got married there, which was super awesome. And we lived there for about 3 years, and then we came back, and his family was living in Las Vegas. And so we came back, and I just finished up my bachelor's degree in psychology. And then after that, we moved up to Utah. I became a stay-at-home mom for about 11 years. And then I decided it was time to go back to school after something happened. Well, I decided to get a part-time job just to keep busy when my youngest went to first grade. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do at home all alone, like all day long? Like, this is so boring. So I decided to get a part-time job, and I started working as an ESL. I don't know if that's the next slide, but let's see. If we could work this, that would be great. And then, so this is our counseling team, but the reason why I became a school counselor was because I was working with the ESL kids speaking Spanish. It's really convenient. And one day I was telling my husband that I'd helped this girl to get clothes, and then I had, the counselors were like really nice, and they actually let me change my ESL kids' schedules to fit with their needs. And so of course, like, I had to go back and like verify that that was okay. When I did it, I know they probably should have never done that, but they did. And so I was telling them like, oh my gosh, I helped these kids get some clothes, and then I changed these classes, and I'm doing all these things. I'm telling him all these things that I'd done the whole day, and every day I loved my job every day. And he looked at me and he said, do you think you should be getting paid more than $10 an hour for this? It sounds like you're a school counselor. I'm like, it really does. And so I went and I spoke to the head counselor, and she said, oh my gosh, you have to go and get your master's now. She said she had gone to the University of Phoenix, and she recommended the University of Phoenix. So it was between the University of Phoenix actually and Utah State University. But Utah State that year did not offer, because they have an Orem campus, and they did not offer it that year. So I would have had to have waited another year. And she told me she was retiring in 2 years. And I felt like that was such a short window. And so, and I couldn't miss out on working with the kids that I've been working with for 3 years, or for a couple of years with my ESL kids. And so I went to the University of Phoenix, and I loved it. It was a great program. I got to meet a lot of really wonderful counselors, and I graduated, and then I got a job here at Provo High. And then one of the main reasons, honestly, why I became a school counselor is my own counselor in high school. My counselor was absolutely probably the worst counselor you could ever imagine. I think I saw him twice my whole 4 years. I don't remember any presentations. Like, I was the first one to graduate from high school in my family. I came from a Hispanic background. We were low income. I took all college prep classes, and I actually did really well. And never once did he talk to me about scholarships, colleges, like nothing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, now I realize, how could he have been a school counselor? I'm like, what was he doing all day? You know, like, I am like a prime target. Like, let me change your life, you know? But nope, that's not what he did. And he had his PhD and everything like that, but apparently he knew nothing about school counseling. So I knew that I could be a better school counselor than my school counselor. and I can change a lot of my ESL kids' lives. And so that's why I became a school counselor. And I think any questions? Yeah. Oh, no. The most challenging and the most rewarding. Okay. So this is a little card that was left in my office when I wasn't here. And it says, hope all is well. Thank you for sticking with me and never hesitating to help me with any concern I had. So there's the challenging part. I will admit it. Clark, I totally agree with you on all the different things that they make us do, like all these things, and they try to stretch you in every way. And then they're questioning, like, really, like, do we need 6 counselors? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how we don't need 7, so how we're managing. So she is one of my favorite success stories. She had a horrible upbringing. She was like molested when she was little, like all these different things. And she finally had a stable home here with her sister, and her mom decides to come from Colorado and take her out of school. And when I first met her in 9th grade, she was suicidal. Like, she had all these problems. She would come into my office and just vent. Sometimes she'd say lots of curse words. And I always told her this was a safe place. I wasn't offended in anything that she did. And eventually she started to calm down, come to herself, and actually start focusing in school. As soon as she was stable and doing well, her mom came along and said, nope, I'm taking her. I have guardianship and I can take her. And I begged mom not to. So she took her to Washington, where they were homeless, and she had to live in a van with her 2 younger siblings. And it took us probably 3 months to get her back, me and her sister and her counselor there in Washington. So eventually she came back, and then she graduated, and now she's off in college, and I'm so proud of her. So she's my success story. So the most challenging thing in my mind are the parents. Sometimes they do the most awful things to these beautiful, perfect children, and they try to sabotage their lives because of their own problems in their lives. And so that's so hard, because you just want to, like, just hold them and take them home and say life will be good and protect them, but we can't. So that's my presentation. And I absolutely love school counseling. Like, honestly, if you want to change lives where you can see good and bad and progress and light bulbs going on and hope, this is the job for you.
Oh my goodness, Lizette, thank you so much for sharing that. Holy moly. Fabulous. Any questions as of right now? And it's okay if not. Okay, great.
No questions, but you're lucky to have 6 counselors in your school.
Yes, we had to fight for the 6 months. Oh my gosh, you have no idea how hard that was. But we finally did. So we're so grateful. Yay.
All right, Kate, Christy, we would love to hear from you.
Okay, I did not do a PowerPoint or have any slides, so you're stuck with just me. I was like, did I miss that? Anyway, so I'm Christy Blankman, and I work for the Davis School District. I'm the K-12 Prevention Coordinator for the district, so I oversee prevention programs. I also supervise the elementary counselors in our district and help with the secondary, but mainly elementary. I do MTSS coordination and help with co-lead our crisis team for the district. Prior to that, I've been at the district office for the last 2.5 years. This is my 3rd school year going into it. I was a junior high counselor for Davis School District for, I don't know, from 2007 to 2018, so about 11, 12 years. And that was at a junior high. And then prior to that, I was an elementary counselor in Weber School District for 3 years. Prior to that, I was in recreational therapy for, I did mental health. So my undergrad is rec therapy, and my master's program was school counseling. I ended up in school counseling. Mental health was changing so much, and it was creating actually some burnout in my life. And I was looking for something that would bridge over where I could still help kids, and be part of their lives and maybe be part of the solution prior to them ending up in like residential treatment centers. Some other folks ahead of me had done the school counseling program, and I thought that seemed like a really good fit. So I went into school counseling. It was the best decision I made. I loved being a junior high school counselor. I don't know I think the first guy said that he misses being in the schools. I hear, you know, people talking about being in the schools, and I too miss being in the schools and seeing the kids every day. It was a big decision to go to a district job, so to speak, and leaving the kids behind. I miss them every day. I feel like my boss keeps telling me I'm helping from a higher level, helping the greater good of the school and the kids. But I do miss the day in and day out of the kids. Yeah, that's the biggest piece. I love what I do. I don't miss doing CCRs every year. I know the value of them, but I don't miss them. But I do miss the kids. As far as the challenges and the advantages, or I can't remember the exact wording that you had, but I would agree with the challenges being that counselors are spread very, very thin. The year that we did while I was in counseling, I did 2 reviews. The first one was very different from the second one. It's been very streamlined, but what they require out of you to prove that what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing. So coming from a school that I felt like we did everything we're supposed to be doing, and to spend all of that time was a struggle for me. And it was very difficult to put down on paper everything that we do and to be pulled in so many directions. That part was very challenging, I think, as a school counselor. And I think it's still challenging for counselors. They get pulled in many directions. I think the responsive services level has increased so much over the years that it's hard to shirk those duties sometimes with the responsive services to get the I's dotted and the T's crossed. And I understand the reasoning behind it. But the biggest advantage, I think, of being a school counselor is helping the kids and being such a vital part of the school. The biggest compliment that was ever paid to me as a school counselor and my team was years ago when they come through and they evaluate your school. It wasn't the counselors being evaluated, but the school was being evaluated. They do that a little differently these days, but at the time, they gave us our review and our feedback. And in the feedback, it said, the counselors of your school are the heart and soul of your school. And I thought that was the biggest compliment that was ever paid to me and my team. Because they literally went around back then and asked kids, do you know your school counselor? Do they help you? I can't remember all the questions. And I remember thinking, I hope they know us. I hope we do well. And to be given that compliment was one of the biggest rewards to me in my career. I thought, wow, we are doing our job. So that is probably the most rewarding thing to me as a counselor, and being able to help the kids. A few years ago, we had a crisis in one of the high schools that my junior high fed. And I had just left the junior high, and I went to the high school, and to see some of the kids and they're high-fiving you and stuff like that. That's all the pieces of being a school counselor, and not because it fed my ego, but to know that I made a difference to these kids and that I mattered in their lives, and hopefully made a difference in their lives to help them down the road. So to me, that's the biggest benefit. It is by far the best job in the world. I love what I do now, but I do miss that. Hopefully I covered everything you wanted me to talk about without my slides.
No, that was great. Thank you so much. All right, Tiffany, will you go ahead and round us out here?
Yeah, let me just put my presentation in presentation mode. Here we go. All right, can you see that? Okay. All right, so this has way more than you care to know about me, but this is the slide I show to my students when I'm introducing myself to my students. So, and when I tell them like a little bit about me. So I just thought I'd grab that and use it really quick. My name is Tiffany Ryberg, and I'm my 3rd year at Utah Virtual Academy. So it is an online charter school that serves students throughout the whole state of Utah. And so that is quite different than from the other people that have talked to you today. This is actually my first year as a counselor. I was the CTE teacher for the first 2 years that I was here. But I'll tell you a little bit about that and how I got there. But this is me and my husband, and we have 4 kids. And this is my siblings. They live throughout, none of us live in the same state. We live in all different states throughout the United States. Just kind of some things that I like and a little bit about me. But like I said, more than you care to know about me. So in 2009, I graduated with a bachelor's degree from Utah State University in Family, Consumer, and Human Development. And but I also had a minor in psychology. Because I had a minor in psychology, I had taken the prereqs to get into Utah State's Master of Education professional school counseling program. So when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I wasn't thinking of school counseling. And so I was kind of lucky that I'd minored in psychology and had those prereqs. Then I didn't have to, for like 3 classes that were prereqs that I didn't have to go take. I'd had them with that minor. So I was glad of that. So in 2009 was the Great Recession. Kind of before that, us young folks thought we could get our degree and a job would be handed to us on a silver platter, right? And that was almost the case. Then 2009 hits, and nobody's hiring, and it's like, hey, wait, I have this degree, and like I can only get a $10 an hour job. Like, what? So, and my husband's a general contractor, and nobody was doing anything with houses at that time either. So it was rough. Anyways, we move out of state. He gets a job. I'm a stay-at-home mom. And it was when he was a contractor, he was his own boss. It was his own company, which has its challenges. Then when we moved, he worked for a company. We got a paycheck every couple weeks. We had benefits, and that was nice. We decided that we're done in that state and doing that job, move back to Utah. And he wants to continue doing construction. And I'm like, I miss having that paycheck every, that steady paycheck and those benefits. Like, I want those. And I was like, if I want those, like, that's like not what he wants to do. So I'm going to go get it myself. So I got this little job with somebody that I'd worked for doing in my undergrad. She was like a researcher for, helped with like early Head Start. So I went into Ogden and would kind of assess these preschoolers during Head Start. Anyways, while I was going to these different schools, I saw a flyer for the master program for USU Professional School Counseling, and how it was 1 day a week in the evenings. And I was like, I can maybe do this. Like, I had 2 little kids then. And I was like, I think I could make this work, like, with my family life. So I applied. Like I said, when I was looking at the requirements, I was like, yes, I have those prereqs. Like, all I have to do is go take the MAT. So, which is the test that you take to, one of the tests you can take to get into grad school. And so I studied for that, took it, got a passing score, went in, and applied. And so that program started in 2015. I had my 3rd child like 3 months before it started. And just to kind of let you know, like, this program is very doable. It's very doable. It's the purpose of it. It takes, typically master's degrees are like 2 years, but this one does take 3 years because it's not only that 1 night a week, but it's from like, and maybe they've changed their times, but it was kind of like from 5 to 10 ish, around there. And so it was challenging with 3 kids, but I could definitely do it. And so I did the program. Okay, so this is me over here on the left is when I graduated with my bachelor's degree. This is me and my cohort from Utah State. This was our Logan cohort. We had so much fun. We had so much fun with our class. I think, like Lizette was saying, the program has like every couple years, like every odd year. Let's see, that started in 2015. So that year they had this distance ed. So like we were there in Logan, and a lot of the teachers were in Logan, but not necessarily all of them. Some of them broadcast to different places, but like our cohort was in Logan. We had people in our class that was in Kaysville, in just different parts of the state. And so we were just kind of like we are now, like on this in our Zoom meeting, like the teacher would be in the front, and then behind us in Logan is like this Zoom screen behind us where they could see all the different classrooms. And and then, so that was fun. That was fun. We got to, you know, kind of interact with people from throughout the state, and then we got pretty close as a cohort in Logan. And then, like, I think on the even years, they only do it in Kaysville. And so I think that's what Lizette was saying, is that, like, the year that maybe she was looking into it, it wasn't the broadcast one. It was, you had to drive to Kaysville on that year. So be mindful of that if you're thinking about that. Kind of plan your timing. It's not offered every year. You can't just jump into the program in December, you know. So keep that in mind. I threw this picture in here too on the right. Like, as I was doing grad school, I would try and go to every conference that I could go to. A lot of times they're free. A lot of times they're really discounted for students while you're going. And so I would try and go. You actually learn a ton from those conferences. You will learn a ton in the classes, but like, of course, but like the conferences are almost like hands-on. Okay, like what's new right now. So I challenge you to go to those. This is Carol Dweck. Look at what a dork I look like. I was so excited to go meet Carol Dweck. She's the creator of Mindsets. And so I got a book. I think it's right here on my bookshelf, but she signed it for me. And anyways, I was like so excited. So we got to do that. While I was in my grad program, you do like an internship and help me out. Like, what's the one when you're still in school?
Practicum.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That word was not coming to mind. A practicum and an internship. So I did one of them at Mount Logan Middle School. That was the last one I did, actually, at the middle school. The first one I did was at Fast Forward Charter High School, and it's, both of these are in Logan. And Fast Forward Charter High School was for, it's just another place students could go to. You could earn credits faster. So if kids like were, you know, behind for graduation, it was a way you could get caught up and stuff, and just an alternative school for kids. It was smaller. So I really appreciated getting to know those kids, maybe a little bit rougher kids, if you will, some of them. And then it was good to see like a public school, and then at the middle school level. I was glad that I had both of those experiences. And then too, before these, I got a job at Utah State Career Services, which I love. You can see these pictures are from there. We had such a fun group of people. We dress up themes for every Halloween. I hope to end up there actually someday. While I love like being in the schools, that's what's like right for me in my time of life right now. But I love career counseling, and maybe like one of the challenges is as the others have mentioned, we do so many more things than just that. So that's something to keep in mind too, is we do a lot of things right now in my job. I don't do a ton of career counseling. I'm in the middle school, and so I'll do a little bit, but maybe I can talk about that a little bit too. My position's kind of new. There was a counselor before, and I'm added, the second counselor added to our team. And so, and there's a lot of different dynamics that we deal with being an online school that are taking up my time right now, that I'd rather be doing like career exploration stuff. But I'm hoping to get to that the second half of the school year. But okay, so first, before my practicum and my internship, I got a small job at Career Services. It was like 10 hours a week. And like I said, I had 3 little kids, and I was like, I really felt like something that I didn't do in my undergrad was get experience. And while one time one of my students asked me, what's more important, your schooling or your experience? And I'm like, that's hard, because yeah, some of these jobs you need that degree, but at the same time, that experience is what's going to land you those jobs. And so I really regretted that, like in my undergrad, yeah, I had to do a practicum too, but it wasn't anything that I would like want to work there someday. It was just like, just to get my degree done. And so this time I was like, the program advisor, Camille Odell, I would go meet with her often. That's another thing that's important to do. Go meet with your advisors. Go let them know your names. Go tell them what you want. Tell them what you're interested in. So I told her like, yeah, I think I really like being in college. I really like the college level. And she was like, and she knew I had little kids, and she's like, you're going to want those summers off to be with your kids. I'm like, okay, that's a good point. But she's like, I would encourage you to get a job right now in the university so you can have that on your resume and so you can have that experience so that when you're ready to transition, like you can, because you can have that experience on there. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. Loved all these experiences. They were way different, and you can do a lot with this degree, as you've already seen. And so I think it's important to, while you're going to school, like try these things out. Go volunteer at these places. Go do an internship there to see, what do I like? You know, because like has been mentioned, there's so many different hats that we can wear. And even, you know, being a elementary school counselor is going to be different from a middle school than different from a high school. They do different things and they focus on different things. How I got my job is I was working at USU Career Services, and you can see right here in this picture, one thing that we did there is we would put on career fairs. So we would invite companies to come, and then students would be able to take their resumes. And you guys are all at USU, is that right? Okay. So if you are up here in Logan, go to those. Go to everyone, like follow them on your social media and go to any of the career fairs that they have. So they have, they have every year they have an education one. And so where like every district in Utah almost comes, and even districts out of state come. And so Utah Virtual Academy was there, and I went up to their booth and I was like, hey, I'm graduating, and are you guys looking for any counselors? And she was like, yeah, I think we might be. And this was in March, and she was like, we're gonna post our jobs in April, so just check like for the website to see if our, you know, a job comes up. So I was looking and looking and looking and looking, and I would email her. I'd be like, hey, just want to let you know I'm still interested. I'd email her every few weeks. Like I kind of waited till April, and then when I didn't see anything in the beginning of April, I like emailed her and like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm still interested. And then eventually, you know, I kept in contact with the lady that I met at the career fair. So eventually the job opening came up and I applied for it, and I also emailed her, hey, I sent in my application and everything. And too, when I was applying, they, you know, for the school counselor position, they also had on there like, hit the boxes that you're interested in applying for. So there was like mentors, which are at our school, they're people that help the students. Then there was school counselor, and then there was career exploration teacher. And I was like, yeah, I'd do that one too. So I click school counselor and then the career exploration teacher, because like that's what I love, right? So anyway, so I interviewed for both, and they chose me to be the career exploration teacher. And I'm like, yay, cool. But then after like I get the job, they're like, oh, also like career exploration teachers, they teach digital literacy. So like computer literacy. So it's like the basics of computers. And I'm like, okay, like, you know, I'm 33, like I know how to use a computer and stuff, but like, what? Like, I don't know that I know that much. Anyways, so sometimes like you know, they knew that, like, and I like made it clear, like, I'd love the counselor position, you know, but they're like, we know, and we're hoping, like, we want to bring you on our team, and we're hoping, like, if something comes open, like, we'll move you into a counselor position. So I was like, okay. But just know, like, sometimes you have to get your foot in the door, and if there's a place that you really want to work, like, sometimes it's taking a job that maybe is not your pay scale, or maybe not exactly what you wanted. But I loved it, and actually it's really helped me. I hadn't taught before, so a lot of times people become, like Clark said, I think he was you're a teacher first, and then, you know, a lot of people do that. And I think that that actually is really, really helpful to understand education, to understand the different pieces. So I was actually really grateful that I got to be a teacher, especially in this online environment. I help the other counselor a ton when I'm like, actually, this is how the classes work. This is what the teachers do. This is what the teachers deal with. So I have so much more that I can bring to the counseling team because I had that teacher experience. And especially with our specific school, how our platforms work and everything like that. So yeah, so I taught for 2 years, and then I actually saw, so Utah Virtual Academy is, we have our high school, and then we have our K through 8. And then our K through 8 just split this year because with COVID, we were allowed to enroll 1,500 extra kids. So with that, we split our K through 5, and now we have like our own middle school. And so, but before the end of the year, I saw an opening. I was looking for jobs for a friend, and I saw an opening in the high school for a school counselor position. So I applied for that without telling like my middle school boss or anything, you know. And so she had let the high school principal, hey, like Tiffany applied, like we just want to give you a heads up, like would you be losing her? Anyway, so she called me and was like, Tiffany, like we haven't, like if you want to go do that, like we'll recommend you and we love that, but we want you to stay here. We actually are going to hire another school counselor. And so they didn't have to post the job. They gave that to me right then. But like, I was like, you know, I'm not going to wait around. Like I saw this opportunity and I'm like, I'm going to apply for that, you know, and I was kind of like offended too. I was like, why didn't they tell me? Like I've made myself known that these people, like I have a counseling degree. Anyways, it was fine. They didn't tell me because they had a position for me in the middle school. Anyway, so that's where I am today and how I got there. Yeah, I don't think I left anything out. Challenges and rewards, like everybody else said. The kids' home life, Lizette said that. The parents, that's no joke, okay? You guys, that's no joke. Sometimes these parents are the worst. And you're like, could I just like take your kid and not deal with you because your kid's amazing and you're horrible. So that's one thing that they don't tell you. It's like you have to deal with parents and that's hard. But you get through it. And then you maybe have 5 of those a year, and then you have a bunch more nice, easygoing, better people or better parents. And I shouldn't say better parents, I should say easier to deal with parents. And then they're doing so many different things as well. And that all depends on kind of like your principal. Like if you have, there kind of are things that you're taught in school that you're like, these are counselors' roles, but it's not like necessarily the culture of school counselors. And so it depends like where your principal's at, like, do they know this? And like some of these guys have said, you kind of have to like defend your job and kind of be like, hey, like this is sometimes, not everywhere. You know, you kind of have to say like, this is what counselors are kind of are supposed to do. Can we like put some of those tasks on somebody else? And it really does depend on what school you go to. On all those different schools that I had the opportunity to work at, there were different tasks. The counselors did different tasks, and not completely different, but some areas more than others, like scheduling. Scheduling is a big thing that in school they'll teach you, and you'll read your books and you're like, counselors should not be doing scheduling. Well, not all the schools have caught on to that yet. And so sometimes some are like, no, you are not doing scheduling. And not all of them have. I'm doing the scheduling right now, but school counselors are kind of new in this online charter school. It's just the task, but we're working on it. Our head of school has said, I don't want you guys doing this. We're working on getting somebody to do the scheduling. So it kind of depends on your principal and what tasks you're given. And if you have a team, and if you can like team up and be like, hey, let's divide up these tasks, or let's like let somebody know that like maybe these tasks are better for somebody else. So both of those challenges. The rewards, seeing the kids and seeing them succeed. I mean, that's why you're interested in this, right? You want to help those kids, whether it's tell them the path or help them find the path that will lead them to a successful career, or help them through mental health things, help them through home life. We're there for the kids, and to see those kids succeed and to get that note. I love that note that Lizette sent. I have some of those too from my like my internships and stuff. You keep those forever because it can be a hard job, and those notes are like, this is why I do it. This is why I do it, for this one note right here. And then two, like if you're able to get a great team of people that you work with, that's also very rewarding. And again, that might depend on the school that you work at. You might work at a school and you're like, I don't like this team. Like, I don't like the people I work with. So, and you might think this is school counseling, but it maybe just be the people that are there. So keep that in mind too, that sometimes it's dynamic, the people, and in any job that you want to pursue, the people you work with are going to influence whether you like it or not. So it's very different. So Sorry, I'm a talker, and that was a lot. But do you have any questions? I saw some things.
No, that was great.
Okay.
And you know, so I'm looking at the clock. You all took perfect amounts of time and shared such great insights. So one thing I do, oh, and let's see, I was gonna say, if there are any student questions first, I'd love to hear those. Looks like Andrea had a comment. Let's see. Each of you spoke about the demands of school counseling. As a former high school English teacher, oh, let's see.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I found achieving so-called work-life balance really difficult. Can you speak to strategies for enjoying this profession while also having time for yourself outside of work? And for Clark and Tiffany specifically, was it easier to do this as a counselor than it was as a teacher? So I'll open that up to all of y'all.
I'll go first. Yeah, maybe it was a little easier as a teacher. Sometimes counselors, this is like another thing. I've had counselors that I worked with at like Fast Forward Charter High School. That counselor, she's amazing. I loved her. I learned so much from her. She's amazing. She gives out her phone numbers and tells certain students, like, you can call me anytime. The counselor I work with right now, she does the same thing. I'm not giving out my phone number. I have 4 little kids. I'm not giving out my phone number. Like, we have, and again, that's a personal thing, but I need those boundaries right now in my life. Sometimes those other counselors, they were a little bit older, their kids were a little bit older, so maybe they felt like they could do that. Me and my life, like, I'm yes, I'll be there, like, if there's a crisis, but we have resources. We have Safe UT app for kids in crisis. And so boundaries are really, really important to me. And sometimes you do have to be like, I'm at 40 hours, I'm clocking out. Like, and so like, yeah, you have to keep that balance. Oh, good. Yeah. Chrissy says, I think you find your balance better the longer you're in the field. Absolutely.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'd love to hear Chrissy's thoughts. You can kind of shift to any extra thoughts you had.
Yeah, sorry, it takes me a minute to figure out what I'm doing on Zoom. And I forgot my computer, so I'm on my iPad on the floor in my bedroom. Yeah, I just think initially when you go into counseling, it's overwhelming. And not to say that this is going to sound bad, not to say that you care about the kids less, but you learn how to compartmentalize, I think, a little bit. Yeah, they affect your heart and they affect your mood and you worry about them. Somehow, the longer you got into it, I don't know if we become more jaded or we become more used to it. But I just think you learn how to find the balance and be at home when you're at home and be at work when you're at work, and compartmentalize that a little bit. But you also learn to do better boundaries and that it's okay. You're not the brand new person. You learn how to say no sometimes, or this can wait till tomorrow, or this can't wait. This call has to be made tonight to a parent, but you know what? This paperwork can be done tomorrow. So you do learn, I think, the longer you're in it, either you become more efficient or you just, I don't know, over time you learn how to balance those things a little better, I find. Otherwise you will burn out 100%.
Really great insights, and I love this boundary setting idea. I think that's so important, regardless of the work, but I would say especially in this field. I do want to make sure that we have some time for students to ask any questions. So feel free to put those in the chat, or you can just turn on your mic and share those as well. So I'll open it.
I have a question actually. So I'm hoping to be able to just like go right into a program, and I don't have any actual education or experience in schools, and I noticed like a lot of you guys were a teacher at some point, and I'm going to graduate with a psychology degree. I can't teach. So I don't know like what kind of advice you have for, I don't know what kind of jobs to be working when I just have my bachelor's while I'm working towards getting that master's degree, since I won't have a teaching license. So.
Great.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I didn't teach at all. I came from mental health. So I don't have any teaching background. I have no desire to be a teacher. Never did. Don't want to be. I admire teachers, but I came from mental health. So working in like treatment centers and that kind of thing, where I think anything you do where you're working with maybe kids or learning the relationship piece. The rest of it is so easy to bring along. I think it's knowing the rapport and how to build it with kids is whatever job you do, that's the skill, and something or anything where you have to be organized will give you the skills that you need, honestly.
Lizette or Clark, any thoughts from you guys? And we'll get to you just in a second, Tiffany.
Well, I feel like if you
Go ahead.
sorry, if you can do anything that has to do with kids, which I think is what Christy was saying too, that's going to give you the upper hand in your position as a school counselor if you know how to relate to the kids, and you do any job that you get, I think that has anything to do with them. I think you'll do great.
Yeah, it's definitely not required. You can still jump in the program without it. But if you do want to get into the schools, there are ways you can actually go be involved with schools without having a teaching certificate. There are positions for assistants or different things that you can jump in if you want to do it in the school too. So.
Yeah, just what Clark said. As you're going to need to do an internship, I think, for your psychology program. And so you could even go kind of shadow a school counselor or do your as an aide at a school where you're at, so you can kind of get that. I've worked in the school experience, but definitely don't have to be a teacher.
Great. Okay, I know that we are just about out of time, so I have just a few things. So really quickly, we have a poll, so hopefully you should be able to see the poll right now. So if you could just take a few seconds and just let us know how the event went and aspects that you liked or didn't like. And if you could just do that before we end today, that would be great. If panelists are able to stay on, if we have any more questions, maybe we'll take just the next 10 minutes to answer any of those final questions if there are any. So I'll open it back up to any other questions that we have at this point, but make sure to take that quick poll for me.
Do you want the panelists to take the poll?
Oh, sorry. No, you guys don't need to worry about it.
Okay, just curious.
Well, it's too late. Sorry.
Oh,
I was going to say,
back
this
on
is a
hold
great
then.
event. It's awesome. I love it.
You, my
It
dad.
was so helpful. Especially that guy.
It was helpful. It's good to hear from other people.
Thanks for the great feedback.
Yes.
Oh, great. Any other questions that we have for our panelists?
I want to say one thing to the first question about the taking it home and work-life balance. Being a teacher and being a counselor, it's a very different work-life balance, I feel. So when I was a teacher, it was like lesson plans and grading that I would take home all the time. But when you're a counselor, it's kind of like you take home kids' problems. And that's a little bit different. So you kind of learn like what's in your control and what's not. And so kind of like what Christy was talking about, like the longer you get into it, the more you are. And I don't know if it's a jaded thing, but it is also like this is not in my control and I did what I can kind of a feel that kind of helps with that. So.
Great. All right. Well, I want to give a huge thank you. I know that all of you have taken time out of your days at night to be here with us. So appreciative of all of you coming, sharing your experiences. I know that these are so helpful for people just to hear what it's like in the real world, to get some of that experience. So again, I just want to thank each of our panelists for taking the time to be here. And with that, we can go ahead and close the event. But again, just want to say a huge thank you. Everybody has been wonderful. All right.